In this video, I'm going to show you how to do part 2 reasoning about plate motion. At this point, you should have already done the previous thing where you examined the evidence, looked at the two claims, and looked at card A, B, C, and D. In addition to that, you should have written a couple of notes at the bottom of each of your pages. That will help you with the next part, where you're going to try to figure out how the evidence actually supports the claim. So in this part, you should have flipped to the third page, which looks like this, and it has the 4 evidence cards in the first column. And then it asks you to use the reasoning tool to connect each piece of evidence to the claim that you think is the strongest. So let's first start by picking one of the claims, and I'm just going to pick claim 2. The South American plate and African plate moved apart gradually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with this first evidence row, and I'm going to just choose evidence card A. So we have evidence card A, and it says earthquakes occur in a pattern along the plate boundary between the South American plate and the African plate. The reasoning I'd need to do to connect this evidence to the claim, which is up here, that the plates moved apart gradually, the work that I would need to do to connect this with that is what I know about earthquakes and where they usually occur. So earthquakes often occur near plate boundaries. Therefore, the first statement is evidence that a plate boundary is present. It isn't necessarily evidence that the South American plate and the Africa plate moved apart slowly, but it helps me to start building a case that a plate boundary is between the two plates. So right here in this middle column, I would write earthquakes often occur near plate boundaries. So this pattern is evidence that a plate boundary is present in this location. So you don't have to necessarily go in order of one to the next, but what you're going to do is for each one of these pieces of evidence, you're going to fill in the second column. That just helps me to understand, or helps you understand, why this piece of evidence is important at all. Why does it matter? I'd like to tell you a couple of things that could be helpful with this. One of the things is that you can use any of the key concepts for our unit, and I'm going to show you where those are located. So unlike other units where we wrote them down on paper, because this unit is all on Schoology, you can just go back to Chapter 1, Plate Motion. And the very first folder here is gray instead of yellow like all the other ones. And it just says Electronic Science Notebook Section Divider Plate Motion. And when you click on that, you can click on the science vocabulary, and that's going to open up the English and Spanish words for our entire unit for vocabulary. So that would be a good thing to review before we take a test. And then you can also look at the next one, which is just science principles, or scientific principles. So if I look at these, I can go scroll through this. It's a slideshow, and it tells you all of the different scientific principles that we know about. There's one about Earth being made of hard solid rock. The next one about how the outer layer is divided into a section called plates. The next one says geologists look for patterns in landforms and in geologic events in order to better understand the Earth. The fourth one talks about how the Earth's outer layer moves, the plates of the Earth's outer layer move. And the final one that we have in the folder so far says Earth's plates move on top of a soft, solid layer of the rock called the mantle. And as we get more, we'll add them to that. So kind of coming back to what we're doing today, which is down here. And then we're looking at the reasoning. So now you might want to use some of those scientific principles, some of the phrases and things that we've learned in these columns here. Finally, after you have come up with your evidence, then it says, therefore, claim. Now, the claim, we already know what it is. It's this claim. The South American plate and the African plate moved apart gradually. So you would just write this claim 2 in this box. What's going to go in the second box? Claim 2. What's going to go in this box? Claim 2. And you guessed it, claim 2. So this one right here, you're not reinventing something. You're just simply stating, therefore, the South American plate and African plate moved apart slowly, because that's your claim. Everything you do in this reasoning tool needs to be to show how the evidence supports the claim. And that's what this second column here is about. Once you're finished filling in the reasoning about the plate motion, then go ahead and go on to the next section where you will write a scientific argument.